She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We're so glad that you decided to join us today. We really, all of us, are so blessed, and we keep you and your life and your business and your finances in our prayers also every single day. Today, I want to hear your opinion about something maybe you and I have never talked about. I don't know how you grew up, but I know that there's a lot of people who have grown up like I did. And the sad part is that I know that there's a lot of people growing up right now in homes and are currently in relationships, just like the one that I witnessed as a little girl. Not only did I just witness it as a little girl, but I also witnessed it as an adult. And so I don't know if you heard about the Why I Stayed campaign that has been going viral all over social media. I don't know if you've heard about it, you know any of the details about it, but I just heard about it actually yesterday. And when I heard about it, yes, I knew that you and I needed to talk about this. Because even though you might be in the secret place of your home, or maybe you are listening to this while you're preparing some kind of a meal, or in your office, or you're watching this right from your living room or your computer, you might be alone. And while you're alone hearing what we're going to discuss, perhaps you might get the chance to either rise up out of a bad situation that's unhealthy, or help someone else rise up out of a bad situation that's toxic. I don't know if you saw this in the news. It's kind of gone all over the place. And I want to look at my sheet here and kind of read from the facts so that you get really the outline of this story. We're going to talk about domestic violence. Here's some facts. And it's sick. And it really has taken a video that went viral of a man actually knocking her unconscious, to where people start speaking up about it. But I know that you who listen to the show, you are a rare kind of a person. And maybe you haven't yet had your chance to have your voice be heard. Maybe you came from abuse yourself, and maybe you've suffered greatly because of it, but now you can live to tell other people about it so that you can inspire them to not stay under that kind of oppression. Listen to these facts. It's absolutely crazy. February 15th of this year, February 15th, Baltimore Ravens running back Ray Rice and his fiance were arrested after he hit her. Isn't that interesting? She was arrested after he hit her and dragged her, she was unconscious, out of an elevator. This actually happened in a public place, all right? And TMZ, they released the video of Rice pulling her out of the elevator. Watch this. A month and a half later, not even a month and a half later, March 17th, Rice was originally charged with a simple assault and a misdemeanor offense. A grand jury indicted Rice for the third-degree aggravated assault and a felony. March 28th, ready? Deep breath. Rice and his fiancée, Janae Palmer, got married. What? Wow. This is a gigantic NFL player. He beat her to a point of being completely unconscious. And hello, a month and a half later, she marries him. You might ask, how could that be? What kind of power did he have over her? What kind of manipulation did he say to her? How in the world could a woman who's just been beaten to a bloody pulp decide to marry this man and somehow thinks that she's safe? Have you ever been in a situation like that and afraid to leave? And maybe thought, okay, he said he's sorry. He really meant it this time? And think that he's safe again? Well, let's keep going. May 20th, okay, so 2 months later, Rice was accepted into a pretrial intervention program focused on rehabilitation. His aggravated assault charge will be dropped if he continues the year-long program. July 24th, NFL suspended Rice for 2 games without pay and fined him $58,000. Oh, I guess it made the NFL not look so good when this Baltimore Ravens running back beat the bloody pulp out of his girlfriend. September 8th, TMZ released a second video showing Rice punching Palmer in the face, knocking her unconscious, and dragging her body out of the elevator. The NFL suspended Rice indefinitely. September 9th, the NFL says that they had never seen the video. The next day, Associated Press reports that a law enforcement official sent the tape to the NFL. An investigation is underway. How do you feel about this? Come on. If you're anything like me, your mind is going, what? How is this possible? How is this possible that a woman could be beaten that badly that she's completely unconscious and marry the guy a month and a half later? How could it be that he can go through this treatment program and his charges can be dropped in a year because, he must be better now? Ooh, okay, is that right? Is that justice? Is this who we've become as a people, that we think that just seems to be okay? Okay, and then of course, TMZ reveals that, yes, he indeed was the one that knocked her out. Of course, we knew that he knocked her out. He's dragging this woman out. She's got bruising on her body. You don't get punched and knocked out without having some kind of mark on your body, right? Okay, and now the NFL is saying, we didn't know about it, we didn't see it, but TMZ is saying, no, yes, you did see it. Covering it up. For why? Because I guess it's not good for sales, right? It's football season. It's not good for the Baltimore Ravens. It's not good for them to cover this thing up. Let's just slip this thing under the rug. So if you've been in a situation like this or not, we want to hear your opinion about it. 844-200-3264. Again, that's 844-200-3264. That's 844-200-DANNY. Call me now. You know what? This is your shot at letting all of who listens to the Dani Johnson Show hear your personal heart, your passion, your opinion about this matter. And if you come from a place where you were a kid and you grew up in a situation like this, like I had, this is the kind of home I was raised in. In fact, the man that raised me, who I thought was my father, who I was told was my father, turned out he wasn't. He played for the Los Angeles Rams. He was recruited right out of high school. He was 18 years old, drafted into the Rams. He was 6'10", 350 pounds when he was raising us. He treated us like we were his football, and he was angry, or at least trying to get us over the field goal. He punched my mother again and again. I will never forget this. My mom had broken her neck. My mom was paralyzed at the age of 29 from the neck down, was told she would never, ever, ever walk again. My poor mother still was beaten by my father. I will never forget hearing the screaming going on, him screaming at her screaming at him. I opened my door out of my bedroom. I looked down the hall to see what's going on. I will never forget this. There my mom has her walker. She's up against the wall, and this huge man, my mom is 5'5", this huge man, he grabs his wrist and biffs with his elbow up her nose. Blood goes splattering everywhere on my sister Marty that was on her right and my sister Rhonda who was on her left. Those memories will forever be ingrained into my mind. Not to mention watching my father as I'm trying to pull him off of my 12-year-old sister, grabbing a towel bar off of the bathroom wall, and my little sister is curled up in a ball with her hands up like this, her feet up, trying to protect herself as he is screaming at her. She is screaming. They are crying. She is crying. I'm crying. I'm trying to pull my dad off. He grabs that toolbar and he beats my little sister's head into the sheetrock. That's how I grew up. He would grab me by the throat, shove me up against a wall to bring me eye level with this man that was almost 7 feet tall, to spit and scream the most filthy, nasty, vile words that should never be spoken over a child. I will never forget my stomach and ribs being bruised by him kicking me. I think some of the most painful things that I experienced in this home was seeing it happen to my mom and my sisters. Domestic violence is not okay. It's not okay. Yet it happens every minute of every day. But what's your story? I've just scratched the surface on mine. Those of us who've walked through this thing, we know exactly how the new Mrs. Rice feels. We know the confusion that goes through our heads. My father saying to me, if you ever tell anybody, you'll get it so much worse than you've ever gotten it. You better lie as to why your sister has a black eye. You better lie, because if anyone gets wind of this, you will be in big trouble. What did big trouble look like? Because if it was bigger than the beatings I had already suffered, I knew this one thing. I didn't want that. I didn't want anything to do with that. Yeah, the school would ask a question. What happened? We were playing softball in the field, and Marty pitched the ball to me, and I hit it, and she got hit in the eye with the softball. We lied about all of the bruises and the cuts that were on our poor, little, frail bodies. I would beg my mom, please, Mommy, leave. Please take us out of here. Please, Mommy, please. She'd just look down at us and say, I can't. Who's going to take care of us? No one's going to love us. He loves us. This is love. Something inside of me knew that there had to be a greater love, and that love was not supposed to look like this. I could tell you stories for hours of what I witnessed. I could tell you stories that would give you nightmares. That father almost took my mother's life. Almost took her life many times. And no one did anything about it. No one. 844-200-3264. What's your take on situations like this, where you know there's violence? You know someone's being beaten and abused, and you stand back and say and do nothing. Maybe you're the voice they need to hear from. They need to be rescued because they've been controlled and told that they'll never be loved, or their life has been threatened if they ever leave. This is Dani Johnson. We're going to take your call right after this.
It's time for a checkup from the neck up. This is the Dani Johnson Show. Did you know you can take the Dani Johnson Show with you wherever you go? It's never been easier to stay up to date with the latest content from Dani with the DaniJohnson.com app. Watch or listen in the car, at the gym, or on the go. Download it now from the App Store and Google Play and never miss a show again. Your family, business, and bank account will thank you.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
We're back. Here's Dani Johnson.
You know, bad things happen to good people. You've heard that before, right? And I don't know what it is about us who have been abused and in abusive relationships that we have a tendency to believe that we have deserved it and that no one will love us. I've been told that by my abuser. I have. That I'm nothing, that I'm stupid, that no one will ever love me, that I do love you, and this is love. And if you just change, then we won't do this anymore. We won't hit each other anymore. We won't hurt anymore like this. This is all your fault. That's typically the words of an abuser. Totally breeds confusion. You probably have seen the video that went viral by our Baltimore Ravens football player, Ray Rice, who was caught on video knocking his fiancée out. The girl married him a month and a half later. Scary. We're taking your call right now about your feelings about domestic violence. If you've suffered through it yourself and you have the courage to share that you could help somebody else get out of it, whether it's a man, woman, or child, because all of us are subject to it. All of us can find ourselves in that same situation. 844-200-3264 is the number. Again, that's 844-200-3264. We're over here at Greg from Las Vegas. Greg, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Thank you. TMZ is a gossip column, and what happened in the video with Ray Rice is deplorable and should never happen. I wish he was raised by my father. It would never happen that way.
Yeah.
But understanding it's a gossip column and that we as Americans are gossiping about the Rice family. We don't know anything other than what's on the video specifically about that situation. So, we can't project our abuses on them as a couple. Mm-hmm. And I think talking about domestic violence is extremely important, mm-hmm. but speculating on whether or not he's done it many times, hasn't mm-hmm. done it, mm-hmm. whether she's forgiven him, not forgiven him, whether mm-hmm. she's not getting help or is getting help, whether all of those things we know nothing about, and it's gossip. And TMZ wants us as a nation to gossip. The devil wants us to gossip.
Greg, I'm so sorry. I have to stop. I got to stop you right here. I agree. So then what would you call the Bible? What would you call the Bible where Abraham's daughter was violated by a prince? And that story is told that Abraham's daughter was violated, Dana, and she was violated, and the brothers all ganged up while that other tribe decided to be circumcised to join Abraham's covenant, and Abraham's son went and killed them. If you're calling what we're talking about gossip, then I guess you would pretty much call the entire Bible gossip.
No, I would call that facts because they were telling us.
Well, here's the facts. Here's the facts. The facts are he punched her in the face. He punched her in the face and he knocked her out. That's the facts. Here's the facts. He drug her out. Those are the facts. Here's the facts. I've been punched in the face. I've been thrown up against a wall, shoved up against a wall to be cussed out. I have been kicked across the room. I've been told, I've had somebody threaten my life, telling me that they were going to kill me. These are facts. And why do I speak about it? For the same exact reason that God speaks about it, is to, one, teach the one who is the abuser to come out of that life, to repent, get healed, set free, and delivered. The other person who is receiving the blows, come out. This is not what you should be treated like. This is not what God has intended for your life. There is a place to get healed. That's the same reason why we're talking about this right here, Greg. We're not speculating on this show about how many times he has abused her or anything. We are simply bringing it to light to say, wow, wow. And what we've been talking to, and it's been awesome, Jessica, as well as, I think there were two Jessicas who call in to say, I was abused. This is why I stayed. This is what I believed and why I stayed. And this is how I got out. And my prayer right now is that we don't discount the facts, but that we give women, men, and children the opportunity. Because, Greg, I was that kid in that house being violently abused by an ex-football player. I was that kid that watched my mom being beaten to a bloody pulp, being rushed by an ambulance to the hospital, and her arm laying limp and almost dead. My mom was punched in the chest, has a huge bruise. She's lost her teeth by this man. Black eyes, bruising all over her face, cuts, slice and dices all over all of us kids. And no one did anything about it. Not our cousins, not our family members, nobody. They didn't know what to do about it. And so we're bringing this to light right now to say, I don't care who posted that video. I'm glad it was posted. I'm glad it was posted. And I'm glad that it is a story that is going viral because it is important that we say this needs to stop. In fact, I think there should be a study done. I think the study should look at when things go viral like this, how many women and children run to the shelter saying, please help me. Please get me out of this situation. And I believe that's why situations like this happen. And it disturbs me. It disturbs me that the media can pick up a story like this and make a big deal about the commissioners and the presidents of this and the investors in the NFL, that we can take the focus off of the pain and suffering of this woman who was oppressed and put it on the business side of the media, the business side of the NFL. That is ridiculous. But we as believers and we who are human need to touch the heart of that woman. We need to identify with the abuser and the one who is oppressed, because that abuser is equally oppressed as that woman has been oppressed. And I believe the Bible shows us all these stories. Dana is not the only one. King David's daughter raped by his own son. What happened there? It ended up in a murder. These are factual stories that will convict any one of us that are reading it. What character am I in the Bible? I don't want to be Dana. I don't want to be Tamar. I don't want to be Absalom who kills his brother because of this particular fact. These are facts. And the fact is that football player hit her. We need to be broken for her and broken for every man, woman, and child who has suffered the same thing. Because the man that is abusing, he's suffering. He's tormented. He's lost. And he needs our prayers. He needs our prayers. He needs our love. He needs us to stand firm and say, dude, you need help. Come on, let's help you. And for her, girlfriend, careful. It's time to get healed. It's time for some therapy. It's time for some Jesus in your life. That's what I believe. I appreciate you sharing your opinion. I am glad that we do not see eye to eye on this at all. I'm sorry. I believe there's a great purpose for this discussion. So I thank you so much, Greg, for giving us your opinion on this. Everybody heard it. Everybody can agree or disagree. And I thank you that you believe that they all need to be healed. That's one thing we can agree on, that they need to be healed. I don't trust any news source, to be honest with you, not a single one of them. Anyway, ooh, this is good. All right, we've got Beachcomber from Ohio. What a great name, by the way. Really?
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, thanks a lot. Wasn't named that way. It's an old nickname, so I can laugh with you when I heard you there saying Beachcomber. Is that real?
I thought it was a city.
the last name's Comer, so that's how the nickname came about. So.
Awesome. So your take on domestic violence?
Well, my gosh, my take wouldn't be too much. I mean, I saw your post on Facebook, and then and it broke my heart that you were tearing up.
Yes. Oh, Mr. Comer, that is so sweet of you, and I love that you have a heart like that. We got to cut to a break real quick. I can't wait to hear what you say on this. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Stay right here for more of the Dani Johnson Show.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your freedom, your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
You know what? Today has been a passionate one, I will say. Tears, a voice that has risen up. I hate injustice. What about you? I do. I hate injustice. And I believe we live in a world that people don't know the difference between good or bad. They don't know the difference between good and evil. In fact, black or white. It just doesn't seem to be there anymore. We have become a people that are not even connecting with the heart of the hurting. It's like, oh, that's too bad. Where's the proof? You saw the video. It went viral. The football player who knocked out his fiance. It's proven. He knocked her out. He drags her out. It's on video. A thing has gone viral. And what are the opinions of the people? Well, we've heard several on this show so far, not to mention the fact that we've also heard that, wow, the media is picking up saying, well, what is the NFL's, opinion about this? And, oh, they lied about this. They lied about that. What about the woman? What about the poor guy who's sick and tormented that he would use his physical brute strength like a giant and knock a woman out. I don't care what she said. I don't care what she did in that elevator. It was not deserving enough to be knocked out. Cold. He had to carry her out. So we see lots of different takes on this. All I know is I can identify with that woman because I was that woman. And there's great pain and great suffering in that woman. And there's great pain and suffering in that man. And there are people listening right now who are in that situation and don't know how to get out. 844-200-3264. We're taking your call right now. We want to hear your thoughts, your opinion about domestic violence. Have you suffered through it and survived? How did you get out of it? Were you a kid? Were you in a marriage? Were you an adult? We want to know. How did you get out? Or if you're in that right now and you need to get out, call me, 844-200-3264. In our first hour, we heard plenty of inspirational stories of people who were abused for years. And what was the breaking point for them to say, I'm out of here? They shared their story. We'd love to hear yours. 844-200-3264. Joining me now is Mr. Comer. His nickname is Beach. What a great name. Beach Comer. It's a great name. And Beach Comer, you were saying that you've got an opinion or a take on this thing called domestic violence. Tell us about that.
Well, like I said, I noticed your post, broke my heart. Always has. In my lifetime growing up, I never had that in our household.
Wow.
Never really saw it or understood it. But over the years, and I definitely have a few decades on me, I've been around it. I've seen it. And I'm not one that stands idly by. And it drives me nuts to see anybody do that.
Yep.
As I mentioned, I pray years in advance because it would definitely have to be the Lord to have a hold of me. If I saw anybody getting hurt or harmed, whether it be a child, an animal, a man, or a woman. And I want you to know, I don't watch sports. I've been a martial artist most of my life, but I don't turn on the TV. I don't watch them. I don't know who this Ray guy is.
Yep.
I don't even know what nationality or anything about him. I've not watched the video.
Yep.
I've only heard bits and pieces through Facebook, and it riled me because that's just not something that should be done. It never should be done to raise a hand to a woman. That was the way I was raised. Now, I definitely know of a few women in my lifetime that could manhandle any man, too. And, so I've seen it on both sides of the street. But the bottom line is the father wasn't there to do his job. I've got a little boy, and that's one thing I teach him, is to respect all and to treat everybody right as Christ would. And my heart breaks for both of them in a way. And people, I don't want this to be a tennis match of he said, she said. And I didn't want to get involved. As a matter of fact, when I got a text from your organization to say, hey, why don't you come on or whatever, I was in a homeschool co-op, and I was like, I don't need to do this. They don't need my opinion. But then I started thinking, if I do have something to offer that could touch one ear out there, I don't know whether it be giving support to the individual that is hiding and is too afraid to come out of that situation. Yeah. I want them to know that I walk the streets in my everyday life, and a lot of people don't realize sometimes my heart doesn't reach my face. And my wife will call me Eeyore or something like that, because a lot of times I'm trying to be very observant to the people around me, whether I'm at a store or whatnot, because I know there's always someone around that may need some assistance or help, and I can pray for them or I can be there for them. And I want them to know there are good people out here.
Yes.
And the hardest thing is that they've got to believe that God never said oops. And their life's important. No one else can take their place in this lifetime. As long as your eyelids open up every morning, that is Him telling you He needs you. He's not done with you.
Amen.
He wants you to survive this, and He's got a better way and a better plan.
Amen.
But you've got to take hold, because I've been in those situations, and I'm certain you have too. Many people out there is that you help, but the person's got to help themselves.
Yeah.
As for the person doing the harm, like I said, I will not hesitate to pray before and during and after I bring them down, too. And, that's where I've even showed my son, you don't have to hit anybody, but I can bring them down to their knees, and I'll just tell them, we need to pray about this. I've done that in restaurants.
I don't think we need to pray about whether or not we're going to punch a woman in the face. That's pretty simple. It's more like, you need help, buddy. And this is the help I'm giving you right now. Let's get you on out of here and get you to where you're going to get some help. Thank you so much, Mr. Comer, for sharing that. And I appreciate what you're teaching your son. You know, it almost seems like it's a lost thing, right? That kind of chivalry seems to be a lost thing. Not to mention dads teaching their sons to never lay hands on a woman. You know, that was a really common thing, I think, way back before I was on the planet. But it's almost like something that's just been, I don't know, kind of left out, that a man should never lay hands on a woman. Ever. A man's strength should never come upon a woman. I don't believe that any father or husband should ever allow the females, and for that matter, some of the males, to feel his strength, especially when he's enraged. So I appreciate that you're teaching your son correctly. I appreciate your moral convictions. And I also appreciate that if I was anywhere near you and somebody tried to come at me, I'd have no worries. I like that a lot. All right, we've got Rebecca from Texas. Rebecca, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. What's your take on domestic violence, honey?
Hi.
Hi, go for it. What's your opinion on domestic violence?
Well, the way I see it is they got into a fight, they went to court, and they still got married a month afterwards. She forgave him. I would see that why should it be our business whether they have domestic abuse or anything like that. I mean, we're just people on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a one-time thing. They were drunk too. So.
Thanks so much for sharing, Rebecca. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, obviously she forgave him if she married him a month and a half later. I'm not so sure that's wise. Yes, forgive. Yes, absolutely you must forgive, and you must forgive quickly. But whether or not you marry the man who did this to you, especially a month and a half later, I'm not so sure I agree with that. Yeah, I'm not so sure I agree with that. We've got Ellen from Fort Worth, Texas. Again, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Yes, Dani. My take on it, I was in a marriage. I was in a, quote, Christian marriage within the church for 14 years. And things got very controlling and very abusive at home from day one, but it gradually grew. It was cyclic because it goes around. It's not always like that, and that's what confuses you.
Yeah.
Because when it's good, you think, oh, it's just me. I made it bigger than it is.
Yep.
And the tension will build in somebody like that, or the insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would come out in controlling behavior. For me, it was financial abuse. It was spiritual abuse. And by financial, I mean I didn't have a dollar to my name. He would just connect the battery cables to the car, wouldn't let me leave, that kind of thing. And it got to where it was turning physical because these things grow. And for me, it was very strange things like finding a kerosene-soaked rag in the bathroom.
Finding what in the bathroom?
A kerosene-soaked rag.
Oh, my gosh. What?
And then stuff like, and I couldn't, like, how did I get there? What's that? You know.
You couldn't ask questions because you knew what would come to you.
Yeah, and I went to the church for help, and the church just didn't even recognize it as abuse. And I went to the shelter, and the shelter said, divorce, leave. And I go, and, you know, you don't know where to turn because on one hand, you get the church is saying, just submit more, you know, is it your issues? And so you're looking inside yourself.
Yeah.
And the devil uses shame to hold that over you, like shame and unworthiness to hold it over you. So you think if I was just more spiritual, if I was just better, if I just pray harder, if I fast more, if I do something different, he'll change.
Yep.
It has to change. And I reached the point where I knew that if I did not do something, first of all, we prayed and God removed him from the house.
Yes.
But for me filing for divorce, the situation came where he was going to be moving back in. His work was finished. And I thought it's more dangerous for us to be with him than to not be with him. It's going to cause more damage, and I have to do this. I did not want to do it. I mean, I wept and I wept, and because I made vows before the Lord.
Yes.
And I had to walk out of this. I didn't have a job at the time, but I knew it's now. Jump now. You know, this is your chance to jump. Yes. And I don't regret at all that I did that. Now we're having to deal with it in another dimension with visitations with my children.
Yep.
And it's because it's such a narcissistic way,
yes,
controlling way. And I honestly am not aware of things in the past, but I know enough now to know that he had to have gone through stuff to cause this to be this way, to be a pattern in the family. Mm-hmm. And it's perpetuated generation after generation.
Yep. Yeah.
And so, it was really bizarre stuff, like finding the back of the chair split with a knife, or the brakes tampered with on the vehicle. That kind of thing.
Scary. Ellen, you were in such an unsafe place. Ellen, you just described things that I know have penetrated other women's hearts and minds. I know that right now God just used you to bring some women out of the situation they're in and to get their bodies to safety. Spiritual abuse is very crafty. Very, 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 very crafty. And we need to be wise. And if we're not safe, we need to get out of there. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Don't go away. The next segment might just change your life. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
My name is Chelsea Drinkard. I am 25 years old and from Tampa, Florida. And like most college students, I was a recent college graduate. Got my first big corporate America job that we were told we were supposed to do. But I had a problem. Within the first couple weeks, I found myself crying every single day after work. I thought I was going to get fired. I was on a path to financial destruction, and I had no idea how to communicate with my family or my boss. Within the very first 6 months of plugging into DaniJohnson.com, War in Debt, and First Steps to Success, I annihilated $2,500. And weird pause. I also increased my value so much by applying First Steps to Success and what you're about to learn right now, gems, that I was offered a promotion, and I received a 10% increase in my pay. When I did decide to leave the business, I became so valuable, the CEO pulled me aside into his office for a private one-on-one meeting, asking me what they could do to keep me. Not only that, since then, I've just started, through War in Debt, I'm hosting War in Debt weekly classes. I'm facilitating War in Debt webinars. I'm living life by design, not by default, like the rest of my other friends who are stuck in debt in their 20s. And not only that, I'm going to Thailand for the 3rd time this November. I'm working with women and children rescued from the sex trafficking. So I don't know about you, but all I know is if you want to have better relationships with your friends and family, you want to increase your value at your work, you want to expand and grow your business, get more done in less time, I urge you, sit on your seats, pull out your pen and paper, turn off your phone, lean forward and hold on to every single word that Dani says, because this will change your life.
Helping you get a grip on your priorities and your focus. The Dani Johnson Show. Here's Dani Johnson.
It's confusing when you have somebody that you passionately love punches you in the face, nails you down, straps you down, holds you down so hard and tells you that this is love, that this is self-control. I'm a good person, and if I was any other man, you would be dead. It's very confusing to a mind. Am I the one that caused this? Did I do this? Did I bring this upon myself? This is why people stay. An abuser is very crafty, and they're very good at manipulating, and they're also very, very good at convincing people around you that you are the one that is messed up. Really good at convincing people and collecting a resources around you saying, you're the one has caused this. You're the one at fault. Before we cut away from that break, I was telling you that if you are in that situation, I don't care if you go to church. I don't care if you're a pastor's wife. I don't care if you're a pastor's son or daughter. If you are a missionary, you see so many people in those places are also abused, but ever so more afraid to let it come to light and to ask for help. 844-200-3264. If that is you, we'd love to hear from you. We would love to hear and help you in any way that we can. And if you have already come out of an abusive marriage, if you've come out of an abusive situation, we want to hear, how did you do that? What did it feel like to be in that situation? And what was the breaking point? 844-200-3264. And by the way, if you're in that abusive situation, I want to give you a phone number right now. It's 800-799-SAFE. Again, that's 800-799-SAFE. That's a national domestic hotline for domestic abuse. It's a national hotline. Call the number right now. Do not hesitate. Get the help that you need. There is someone waiting to rescue you. You are not crazy. You are not crazy. It's time to rise up out of that oppressive situation, and it's time to get out of that place. Do it now. Pick up that phone number. Pick up the phone, 800-799-SAFE, S-A-F-E, that's 7233. We go over to line 6. We have Winter from Maryland. Winter, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Dani, I'm so happy that you're talking about this. I can't even begin to tell you. It's amazing to talk to you. Basically, oh God, there's so much to say, but I'm going to try to condense this. Basically, yes, I came out of a almost 6-year marriage that was extremely abusive in every possible way, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, on every level.
Okay, Winter, this is what I want to hear. I want to take away the adjectives that describe it, and I want you to tell me. I want to know how were you physically abused?
Okay, so I have 8 stitches in my face.
You have 8 stitches. You had 8 stitches in your face.
I do. I do have 8 stitches in my face due to basically being pushed into a closet that was dark. There was a file cabinet in that closet, and my head hit the file cabinet, but instead of stopping to make sure I was okay, he just kept on kicking and punching, and it was dark, so I didn't even know that I had hit something. I just felt a pressure in my face, and then the next thing I know, I come out the closet and I look in the mirror, and I literally, you know how people say you get hit to the white meat? Literally, I could see the white meat because my skin had bust open that wide, and this was on my birthday, and I had just relocated to a new state with twins that were only maybe 11 months old. Jesus. And I walked into the hospital, yes, and so I have 8 stitches in my face. That's part of the physical. That was the worst day of the physical abuse. It happened, like one of the callers said before me, is that it's progressive, and that's what people need to understand, because I think that people that have never walked through this say, well, if somebody hits you, just leave. But they're not going to just straight punch you in your face out the clear blue. That wouldn't work for most people, because if someone just came and hit you, you would leave.
Yeah.
It's progressive, so they push you a little too hard, or they grab your wrist a little bit too hard and too aggressively. And that's why when I saw the Ray Rice video, it disturbed me, because after living through what I lived through, I don't believe a man that hit you the first time will punch you like that. Exactly. I do not believe in my gut that that's the first time he ever had put his hands on her. Mm-hmm. Because most of the time it does not start like that.
No.
It's progressive. They grab you a little too hard. They push you. Like one time I got pushed into a wall, and the wall actually broke with my body print. And then another time I was pregnant with my twins, and I got pinned to the bed where my stomach was hurting, and I actually thought something happened to my babies. You know, things like that. It progressively gets worse and worse until you get pushed into a closet and have 8 stitches in your face. It doesn't start out with someone just being in an elevator and punching you.
Yes.
I do not believe in my gut that that's how that's the first time he ever put his hands on her. It doesn't start that aggressive, because most women, if someone hit you in your face like that, you would leave.
Yeah.
The first time, especially because, and this is another thing, Dani, I really want to share, is that when you're dating someone, it's different than when you're married to them.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Because when you're dating somebody and they put their hands on you, well, you ain't got no commitment to them, so it's like, whatever.
Get out.
You know, so it's much easier to walk out.
Yes.
Yeah. But when you're married to somebody and all your financials finances are tied together, and you have children with this person, and you built a life with this person, you have a home with this person. It's a much. I'm not saying you cannot get out.
It's complicated.
It's a lot more difficult. It's a lot. It's very, very complicated. Financially, that's what happened. Physically, I'll break these things down for you. Financially, like the caller before you, I always worked. When he met me, I was working. But when I had my twins, I got very sick in the beginning of my pregnancy, so the doctor put me on bed rest. So I stopped working, and then after I had my kids, he never wanted me to go back to work. So now he's controlling all of the money. I literally had to ask for $5 to buy tampons. I mean, that's how serious it was.
Wow.
So, it was really that serious. So it's that's financially.
Let me ask you a question, Winter. Hold on a second. Did you somehow think that this is how marriage was supposed to be?
No, actually, I'm different than most people because I knew it wasn't supposed to be like that.
But why would you stay for 6 years? Was it because it was complicated? Was it because you didn't have a source of income? What was the reason why you stayed? Because Winter, a lot of people they think they don't know any different. First of all, did you grow up in an abusive family?
Oh, not at all. My mother is the strongest person. I didn't grow up with my dad, but my mother would have never tolerated. No, she's like one of those alpha women. Okay,
yeah.
No,
you touch me, you're done.
I didn't grow up in an abusive family at all. Yeah, you touch me, and you might be in the ground. My mother was very strong. Yeah, so that would have never happened.
Right. So, kids like me who grew up in that horrific violence, the kind that you're describing, that happened in our house all the time. This was the norm. The way I grew up, that was the norm. So my biggest goal was to marry a guy that wouldn't beat me. And I remember the first time that my high school sweetheart, who was a fiance to me, it was on Thanksgiving, that he shoved me up against the wall and pinned me up against the wall. It was done. Goodbye. We're done. OVER. Any man that touches me like that, done. So, but again, there's for some of us, we just think this is how it's supposed to be. And it's like a subconscious thing in our mind. That's amazing.
Yeah,
good for you.
I didn't think that. So here's the $5,000 question is, why did I stay? It's not because I thought marriage was supposed to be like that. Mm-hmm. The reason why I stayed, and this is when I wrote on your post earlier on Facebook as well, is because I walked into my relationship with my ex-husband broken already.
Yep.
I've had a low self-esteem my whole life.
Yep.
So when I entered my marriage, it's like he became my whole world. So I found my identity was in this man. Mm-hmm. My validation as a woman was in who he said I was. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So when now I'm being abused, right? So what do? Walk away from my validation? Walk away from the person who my whole life is defined by?
Yeah.
I didn't know exactly how to do that.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to walk away from. And then on top of that, Dani, I do want to say this because there's a lot of people are in this situation. I was never really close to my family. So another thing, too, is that one of the the red flag signs big is that when a man sees a woman who's already disconnected from her family, a lot more will be tolerated by her because she has nobody to go to.
Yeah.
So I didn't have nobody, and he knew that. My relationship was very fractured with my family, and then I had a low self-esteem. It was a recipe for disaster.
Yes.
You know? Yes. And I'm going to be honest with you, Dani. I didn't leave him. He left me.
What?
Yes. Yes. I just wanted to say this because everybody's story is a little bit different. Mine is very unique. I prayed and I asked the Lord because I was in a different state. And I prayed and I said, God, please, I need to get out of this. I just don't know how to. How do I grab these two little babies who are less than 2 years old and leave? They were 18 months. How do I leave? And I really felt strongly the Holy Spirit said, I'm going to fix this. And I'm telling you, within a week, he just said, I can't do this anymore. He packed all of his stuff and left. That's exactly what happened. That's my story, you know?
Oh, my gosh.
I never moved out of my apartment. I didn't lose my apartment.
Nothing.
My things and nothing.
Wow.
I said, God, I got to get out of this, and I don't know how.
Oh, wow. I love it. Man, woman, that is amazing. Gosh, and think about that. Look who you turned to. You turned to the Lord. You turned to the Lord. Lord, get me out of this situation. And boy, he took the man out of the situation. Man, I'm so proud of you, Winter. I'm so proud of you for praying. I'm so proud of you for sharing this story. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Dani has helped thousands upon thousands get on track to living a better life. Don't go away. More of the Dani Johnson Show is on the way.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
We're back. Here's Dani Johnson.
Imagine, man, you got twin babies. You got no money. You've been badly, and I mean badly abused by a man, your husband, who's been controlling you. That's where Winter found herself. She shared her story in that last segment. I'm bringing Winter back because I just feel that, Winter, you have something to say to the woman that is weeping right now. She heard your story, and she's teetering. She doesn't know whether or not she's got the courage to leave, to get out of that unsafe situation. I want you to talk to that one woman right now that's got 2 kids or 5 kids or whatever. She's been hiding in this truth of the abuse that has come upon her, the same kind of abuse that you had. I want you to talk to her right now.
I want to say that there is always somebody to go to. There is somebody who you can confide in. There's somebody who you can say, let's make a plan for me to get out of this. Whether it's a family member or someone at church or a coworker or somebody, there's always somebody around, even when you can't see them. And the second thing I'll say is that what you don't want, what's greater than your fear is the fear of knowing your children will grow up and replicate the behavior that they see. Yep. What drove me to say, God, I can't do this anymore, is not my love for me. It was my love for my babies.
Yes.
I love my kids so much that I was scared that they would grow up thinking, because I have a boy and a girl twins. And I said, my son's going to think this is how you treat a woman, and my daughter's going to think this is how she should be treated.
Yes.
So when you can't muster enough courage to leave for you, leave for them.
Yes.
So that they can have a different example of what love looks like. Don't be worried about, like with me, I didn't grow up with my dad, and I was scared my kids would grow up without their dad. But the Lord had to show me that he would send positive male role models in their lives.
Yes.
So, just when I know sometimes as women, when you've been beat down like that, you don't love yourself anymore and your self-esteem is in the garbage. But when you look at those babies that you love them enough to walk away.
Amen.
And know that God will, make up the difference.
He will, and he's faithful to make up that difference. Thank you so much, Winter. Thank you for sharing. Listen, if you are in that situation, 800-799-SAFE, okay? That's a domestic hotline for the whole United States of America. 800-799-SAFE. That's actually 7233. And I agree with Winter, and I believe that what plays on the minds of those who are being oppressed is that no one will understand, no one will help. Now, mind you, that's exactly what I thought, because I was that kid. I was the kid that grew up in that household where blood was splattered often. The screaming, the turmoil, the horrific pain. Come on, friend. My mother being punched in the chest to the point where it almost kills her, almost stops her heart. Bloodied. You couldn't even recognize my mother's face, missing her teeth. Her teeth punched right out of her mouth. My cousin recently was telling me a story that when she went to the hospital to see my mom, she turned the corner in the emergency room and she saw my mom's hand just fall off of the table and just be limp. She gasped and said, she went to her mother and said, Darlene is dead. She's dead. I broke down because I remember that day that my dad was hauled off to jail and my mom was hauled off to the hospital. They had to save her life. This wasn't the first time. But I grew up in that home. I did. And that put some imaging in my head that I'll never forget. However, I have forgiven my father and my mother for not leaving. I have forgiven. And there is a God who wants to deliver you from all of that pain and suffering, whether you grew up like I did or not. But if you've had an abuser, something abusive happened to you, if you forgive, he will heal you. He will heal you from the inside out. And if you're in that situation like Winter was, it's time to get out. This is your wake-up call. This is your wake-up call. There is people around you that will help you. And you have to come to a place where you just surrender. You just surrender. That all of the objections that you have of what will people think, what happens when people will find this out, what is he going to do to me next if I do this, what is going to happen to my kids, how are they going to turn out, right? All of these things that go through your head. But this is your wake-up call right now. Listen to me. This is it. And you cannot think about those things anymore because it's those things that have kept you in that prison cell that you're living in that is not safe. That has to stop. And hear me. It's time. It's time. This is your time. This is your lifeline. 800-799-SAFE. Call it now. 800-799-SAFE. And again, if you've grown up in this type of a situation, you need help. I don't care if you're 50. If you grew up anything like that, in any kind of domestic violence, you have been carrying the pain and the weight of that your whole life. I have been through 2 decades of counseling, not only due to my childhood, but the repercussion that my childhood had on my adulthood. Yeah. I will not forget the very first time that my husband and I got into it, and we both grew up in these abusive homes. I will never forget the first time I threw a vase at him. I remember going, what has happened to me that I could do that? I've gone through 2 decades of counseling, and I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. There were so much horrible things that happened in my childhood, and those things have tried to resurface, tried to kill me. I am so grateful to say that God directed me to places where I could be healed and restored. And there's some things that I'm being healed of even now. Man, 2008, my daughter had a double aneurysm, and then I was paralyzed right after that. We had trauma after trauma within 2 months of each other. I'm going through counseling about that right now. Don't be so prideful that you're not going to seek out wise counsel and help and healing. It's only pride that says, I'm over that. That's no big deal. I promise you it will resurface someplace in your life. It will come out sideways. It comes out in your weight. It comes out in your bad financial positioning, how you spend money, all that pain from the past, especially if you've been through abusive situations and lots of divorces that your family went through. And then, of course, you picked up your life and you messed it up all the more. I promise you, these things try to resurface themselves. And you need to get counseling. You need to humble yourself, because as you humble yourself, He will exalt you. He will heal you, and you're not going to be healed all by your lonesome. God uses counsel and people to heal, to bring restoration, to love on, to encourage, to hug you, to hold you, to speak life into you. He uses people to lift you up. And that is what He wants to do with you right now. So if you're in that abusive situation right this minute, I gave you the phone number, 800-799-SAFE. Call that now. If you've ever been in a situation like that, or you grew up in that kind of a household, then get help now. Find a counselor and do what it takes to get yourself healed. This is Dani Johnson. Thank you so much for joining us today. I would love to hear from you. If you have received any help from today's program, please write us and tell us at DaniJohnson.com and visit us on Facebook. Talk to you later. Talk to you tomorrow. God bless.
Did you hear that last segment? Do you know someone else who needs to hear it? Go to DaniJohnson.com, find today's show, and share it online. This has been the Dani Johnson Show. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.